You can say stuff if you want. Okay, what I want to do is share.
All students. Oh, no, okay, so the speaker's not on. Okay. Cool.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, this is weird for me.
I know it's a newer thing.
Okay, and I didn't expect anybody to see me either.
You can stop. Do you want me to stop your video?
It's okay now. It's
Okay.
So, I guess I can just ask you questions. Do you know any of the financial aid questions?
Is this who's speaking? Is this Jana?
No, I'm Katrina.
Katrina.
Lauer. Uh-huh.
We're not going to be able to answer any financial aid questions. So
Okay.
what I would advise that you do is that you either call the financial aid office, or if you're local, to come into the Student Service Center. So this session is going to be general information that will apply to everybody. So if you have more specific questions for which financial aid is very specific to your situation, then those would be one-off questions. And we'll give you some information on how to follow up towards the end. Okay?
Okay.
Cool.
So I can just basically listen to what other people have questions, and then maybe I can just join in, or?
Yeah, and we're going to mainly use the chat feature for that. And I mean, you can certainly jump in and speak if you'd like, but if there are individual questions about your particular situation, it probably, and just for your own privacy, it would be best to save those for either a session with one of us one-on-one, or to email one of us afterwards, because this is just more kind of a general session. Okay? Is that good?
Okay, sounds good.
So hopefully we do cover the basis for you. But again, if you leave with some individual concerns, then we'll give you information on how to reach out after.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Hi, I don't know if I'm doing this right.
Who's this?
Hanae, I called earlier.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so it seems right. I'm going to mute everybody though, so that we can use the chat feature solely. So, but yeah, we'll be getting going here shortly. Yeah, we have about 6 more minutes to wait for a few more people to show up, because we have quite a few more that have signed up. But the chat feature is open if you do have a question to start. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. If you can hear me, I am going to mute everybody because this is more of an informational session. And so if you have questions and you're in a safe place to type, then you can go ahead and use the chat feature to do so. But I'm Denise Hamilton. I am the first year advising coordinator here at Sac State in the Academic Advising Center. And we're conducting these informational sessions so that you guys can have kind of a basic idea of what to think about when you're coming here to Sac State prior to coming in for orientation. And I know I have one of my colleagues, Tiffany Northern, here with me, and she is going to be managing your questions via the chat box. I did go ahead and put up the rules, just kind of the ground rules, and it's mainly just for being in this online environment. So I'll give everybody, because we still have people popping in, so I'll just give you a few minutes just to overlook those and so that you understand what is appropriate in this environment. And then we will go ahead and start the session. I will announce to everybody that this session is more informational and general, and we won't have the ability to really be able to do one-on-one advising or answer individually specific questions. And because of the privacy of the environment, we don't want to be discussing your particular situation in this group environment. So at the end, we will give you some contact information and some ways that you can get more individual help if you need it. But orientation will also be a great way to do that as well, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So I'll give everyone just a minute or so. We are going to record the session, so I will let everybody know that. I'll go ahead and start recording, and then I'll share with you the agenda here in just a minute. Sure. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get going on our agenda here. So hopefully you all had a time to review the ground rules that I mentioned. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to cover today. I will say that we are academic advising. We are not going to be able to cover anything specific to financial aid. If you have questions regarding that, then our Student Service Center, which is in Lassen Hall, is the best place to physically go to. You can also try and call them to get questions answered because everyone's situation is a little bit different in regard to that. So I will say that that's the best route to go. All right, so let's look at the agenda. So we are going to talk about sometimes this can be a shock to students, but there is another writing class that you have to take. So we're going to talk about the exam that you need to do in order to take that class. We're going to go over the general education requirements as well as your graduation requirements. Now, those are the two pieces of your degree that are handled by the Academic Advising Center. And so we'll touch on the other piece, which are your major requirements. We'll show you a couple of tools that are really helpful for you on your student center. These will also be introduced to you at orientation. So getting these little touches and exposures to them will be helpful. We'll talk about the catalog and the different types of advising here at Sac State. We'll show you your transfer credit report so you can see what it has already been articulated into your record and what might still need to be. So that can kind of let you know if there's any transcripts missing. We'll also share with you our Transfer Navigation Team Facebook page, which is a great resource for you to reach out to other transfers and get help and advice. And then we'll talk about orientation and submitting any remaining transcripts that you might need to share. Okay, so what we're going to do next, let me back out of this here real quick. Okay. So this is, let's see. Let me share my screen with you guys real quick. Okay. So here is our Sac State website. This is really going to be a great resource for you. You can use it like Google to search for whatever you want and whatever you need. Give me just 1 second. Okay. So when you're looking for, so as I was mentioning, there is another writing requirement that you have, and that's called the Writing Intensive Requirement. It's an upper division writing class. Anything that you did at community college is considered lower division coursework. So here at Sac State, that equates to anything class number-wise, anything numbered 1 to 99. So anything considered upper division in the 100s needs to be done here at Sac State. So the writing intensive requirement is a writing requirement that needs to be done here at Sac State once you arrive. No one would have had that done coming from a community college. It is your final writing requirement that you have here. So in order to take this class, you need to take the writing placement exam for juniors, as it's called, the WPJ exam. So the best way to find the information is you can search for it. Let me see if I can, off of the Sac State site. I think I can usually find it just putting in WPJ. And there is an exam in January. So this first link here we can follow. And then it tells you about the exam. So here's right here you can see the registration dates and fees. And I believe the registration for this one opens up in December, and then it takes place, yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but here's where it says here to click for registration, date and fee information. And then here's the exam dates right here. And then you'll see that the online registration is available December 4th through the 15th. And then the actual exam is on January 6th. I think if you can, it's a really good idea to go ahead and do it during this time frame. You getting your scores in time to register, you likely won't have them yet, but at least you'll have the exam done so that way you don't have to worry about trying to do it during the school year. And you could always try and add something once, at the very beginning of the semester if you wanted to. The class doesn't have to be done in your first semester. But like I said, it's just good to kind of get the test out of the way. The score will last. It doesn't expire. So if you can, I think it would be a great idea to go ahead and look into that, register, and take the test. Some students need, and this will show up here, some students, based on how they test, they will need to take a class before they can take their writing intensive course. And that class is English 109 M or W. And so you want to kind of plan a couple semesters out from your graduation so that in case you need this supplemental class, that you have time and it's not getting in the way of when you want to graduate. So that is the information about the WPJ exam and the writing intensive. If you do have other questions, then you can put them in the chat, or if they're really specific, then we can answer those afterwards via email. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to look at a sample student record. So if you guys have already submitted your intent to enroll here at Sac State, you should be getting your student ID, and you should be able to go ahead and log on to your student center. Depending on what stage you are at with having your transcripts submitted, you may or may not have everything showing that you've completed. In particular, what you're currently enrolled in for fall will not be there, obviously. it is important that you get those transcripts once fall finished and as soon as possible, and that you bring those with you to orientation, because we likely won't have them in your record. And so by having them physically with you, then our orientation leaders that assist you with registration can easily see what you have completed. So this is your student center. I would advise that you take some time to really familiarize yourself with it. The place that we spend the most time is here in your Keys to Degree toolbox right here. So we're going to go ahead and open that up. And let me go ahead and make this bigger here. So a couple of the resources that we're going to show you right now are your Smart Planner and your academic requirements. Enrollment will take place, this is the link you'll go to, that will take place during orientation. So you don't have to worry about that right now. If you have classes in mind that you want to start thinking about, that's great, but actual enrollment will happen during your orientation. Before we get into your Smart Planner and your academic requirements, oops, as I actually clicked on it accidentally. We'll wait for that to load, and you'll find that this system does take them. This over here shows you it's thinking, so try not to keep clicking on things because it needs some time. I'm going to try and stop it and go back. Okay, so first I want to show you right here is your transfer credit report. So in here should be anything that if your transcripts are in and they have reviewed them and put them into the system, then it will show the various different schools that you've attended, what units have come in, and the GPA associated with those. Now from community college, you can only bring in a maximum of 70 units. However, you will meet all the requirements that you've truly satisfied, even if it were to go beyond that, but your max of units is at 70. So here you'll see the different courses that the student took, and you'll see right here, it shows what GE requirement it met. And now one of the other resources I'm going to show you in a moment has an easier way to see this. But if you're curious what each individual class met, this can show you. And in fact, it can show you too, like this class, for example, Introduction to Funeral, however, they didn't pass it, but it didn't meet anything in particular, as well as this. This is a better example. This HCD 330, it didn't come in as anything but units. So you can see, if you're curious of a particular course, what it came in at, or if it came in as anything more than units, you can kind of tell from this report. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to your toolbox. And if you need me to slow down at all, please let Tiffany know in the chat box, or if you need me to go back over something, and she can let me know. Okay, so we're going to start out with your Smart Planner. And once you get here, you hit OK, and it takes a few moments for this tool to populate. This is a new planning tool that we have for students to help plan out their progress to degree. And it actually is helpful to academic departments as well, because it lets them future plan and know how many seats to provide for different courses in the future. So say you need an upper division biology class in fall 2019, then they know how many seats to try and plan for. If they need to open another section, perhaps assign another faculty member. So it really will help the future of our course availability. So once you get to this spot, go ahead and hit OK. And you don't have to follow along. You can simply watch. You'll have opportunities during orientation and once you get here, and even on your own, to look into this. So once we get here, this is just a general overview of the breakdown of your courses, what you've completed. This student has some in progress here at Sac State, and then what's planned. So go ahead and we hit continue from here. It's just an overview page. And then here you will see a breakdown of the different terms. And if you wanted to say add in another semester or a summer session, you can hit edit preferences and then hit this plus sign, and you can add it in. So this student has done that. They added in summer 2018 because they plan on taking a course. Or if you wanted to, increase units one semester or decrease them, perhaps you can only take 9 units per semester, then, you could come in and decrease these down and then it would populate more semesters for you. Guess I shouldn't use hand gestures because you can't see me, at least my hands. This online environment is new for me too. Okay. All right, and you can see the student's major is social work. So as we come down, it gives suggestions for what this student should take in their spring 2018 semester. So based on, and if you don't have all your transcripts in, then you may not be showing everything. It may be showing things that you've already taken, so that's something to think about. And we can help you with that at orientation. But once everything's in the system, then you will be able to see an accurate assessment of what you still need. Where it says not selected is where you get to go in and hit select and then pick the class that you want. Now, in this case, this is an elective for the student's major. So they would work in conjunction with their major advisor, and they would decide what the best pathway would be for that elective. But once you hit select on that, we'll do an example of that, then it shows all of the courses are selected for this particular student. And once they're selected in here and it's not red, then that's what kind of sends the information to the department to let them know what it is how many spaces to try and allow for. So you can see this student's plan is actually fully selected. So that's exactly what we want, the goal that we want you to try and do. And again, don't feel pressure to try and do that right now or right away. We'll work with you on this if you need some assistance. But what's great is the student can see they're going to graduate in spring 2019, and that actually is a pretty light semester of 9 units. So it allows you to do all of your degree planning and see how that maps out. Now, the one thing about this tool is that it doesn't show specifically, and as transfers you have met, likely you've met a lot of your general education and graduation requirements, and that's something we'll go over with you. But this student is a good example in which they hadn't done their foreign language, which is a graduation requirement. So this tool does not show every single requirement that you need, because at Sac State, you can overlap as much as you can. I mean, sometimes students can overlap with 3 or 4 different requirements. So this doesn't show you how that happens. So in order to see all of your requirements in a list format, you want to come up here and go to your advising report planned. And this is going to show you an entire list of all the requirements that you've either completed and that you still have left to complete. And what you want to ensure is that everything that is not complete is at least planned for. Okay. Now that does have a pop-up. So you might not see this window pop up right away. If you're on Chrome like I am, you'll see a little red kind of alert thing up in the corner here. And you'll want to click on that and then click the link. Okay. So as we scroll down, and you want to really use your Smart Planner and this, as we call it, your academic requirements, you want to use them in conjunction with each other, as well as with an actual advisor, until you kind of got the hang of it. So what you're going to see are green check marks. That means something is satisfied and complete. The yellow diamond is currently in progress. And then the blue star is something that's in your Smart Planner. So that's planned. And so what we really want to pay attention to is to see where the red squares are, because that means it's not in your planner. And so you need to go in and select that. We're probably not going to see many of those for this student because her planner was fully selected, but it would help us to catch anything she had missed. So as we scroll down, you'll see that you need 120 units to graduate. Many of you will be coming in with anything from 60 to 70 units. So you'll be either halfway or a little over halfway there. This number does not include what units that you're currently enrolled in. So this student is enrolled for fall in this example, and so it's not including her current 15 units. Some of you may find that you might need to take a class or two that we call an elective, and that would just be for units to reach this 120. So sometimes that's, students don't realize that. There are, as you come here as a transfer, you want to pay attention to the number of upper division units that you need to do. So you do need 40 upper division units. Now, most of you, you'll be doing this naturally by pursuing your major, but you just kind of want to be mindful of that most of what you're going to want to do here is going to be the classes listed from 100 to 199. And this will keep track of it for you as you go. The rest of this will be pretty easy for you to achieve. It's just saying you need 30 units here at Sac State to graduate and at least 24 upper division units here at Sac State, which again, if you meet that 40, you'll naturally meet the 24. So the first piece that we're going to cover here is your graduation requirements. So you can see that this student right here in the American Institutions requirement, the U.S. history requirement. And so if you turn the little triangle upside down, you can see that she transferred that in, which many of you may be doing. But she didn't do the Constitution, state and local government component. And we can actually see it's not in her planner. So what we'd want to go back and do in her SMART planner is add this course in so that she makes sure that she's meeting this requirement. Now, if you still need both of these categories, they actually are met by the same class. As transfer students, it would be a good idea to pick either 113 or 150 because those are upper division classes. Now, if you're curious, as I was mentioning before, classes can overlap in multiple ways, and there's no limit to that. If you click on the link for the class, it's actually going to show you the ways that classes overlap. So you're like, well, if I take Gov 113, what's it going to do for me? So you'll see right here by course attribute that it meets GE Area D, U.S. Constitution, and state and local government. So it meets those two pieces that I just showed you, as well as GE Area D. Also, this is an upper division GE. So as you'll see when I get to the bottom of this list for you is that you need 3 upper division GEs or 9 units of upper division GE here at Sac State. And I'll cover that more at the end. This student, and many of you have likely done this as well or working on it, brought in her 2 different English composition requirements. And again, if you're curious, you can open up the triangles and see how that was achieved. So these are 2 English composition requirements that are lower division that could have been earned at the community college. Now we come to the foreign language requirement. We see that she's planned this, so it has the blue star. There's a number of ways that you guys may have already done this or can prove that you've done this. If you did 3 years of foreign language at high school level, just ensure that you get your high school transcript into Sac State, and then you would have met this requirement. You would have needed a C- or better in those classes in high school, and then you'd be exempt from this. There are 9 different majors that are exempt. So if you're pursuing one of those, then you may see that it's showing that you're exempt. So that's another way. If you are multilingual and you are proficient in various different components of the language, such as speaking, writing, reading, then there is the opportunity that you could completely test out of it. You don't need to tackle this right away. This just needs to be done before you graduate. Also, if you did an NAPEAT exam when you were in high school with a 3 or better score in a certain language, then just ensure that we get those scores from the College Board, and then we can add that into your record and exempt you or satisfy the requirement. But if you simply just need to take the languages, the way that it works, this student is taking Sign Language 2, which is Deaf Studies 52. The second semester version of the language is what meets the requirement. So she was likely starting sign language from the beginning and had to start with Deaf Studies 51, and then Deaf Studies 52 is what actually meets the requirement. So as we come down here, we have race and ethnicity. Sometimes this is one that doesn't transfer from community colleges depending on what you've taken. So you may see that still satisfied. That's okay. It's easy to lap that with upper division GE. So if you still need it, that's fine. There's ways to easily make that happen. She did in fact transfer it in. So in her case, that worked in her favor. So here's where we see the writing intensive requirement. So this student, being a social work major, she can actually take a class that counts for her major and is a writing intensive. And that's what she plans on taking in summer. That's not the case for everyone. Some majors, they have a certain class they want you to take. Others, they don't care. You could take one of 77 options for the writing intensive. Others, like this particular student, she had the option of doing this particular class. So you can look into that farther when you look at your record and meet with your major advisor. Okay, so once we finished those graduation requirements, now we come to your GE requirements. And she's satisfied them all, so that's why that was closed. And in fact, what I'm going to do, let me scroll back up to the top and I'm going to open it all up so we don't have to open every triangle. So if you hit expand all, it'll open up all those triangles so you don't have to do it one by one. So as we get back down to your general education requirements, you'll see these are categorized in areas A through E. And so many of these, hopefully you have brought in. If not, then there's opportunities to take care of them here. So area A is the foundation of your education. It's your speaking, your writing, and your critical thinking. So this student, there's a public speaking that they actually did here, and then they transferred in their A2, which is their English from up above, and then their critical thinking. Many of you, that second composition class, that also counted as your critical thinking. So that double counted for you. Your area B is your science and your math. And so depending on your major, if you are a STEM major or pursuing nursing, then you likely have a lot of overlap in your major preparatory classes within this category. So your B1, you need 12 units in this category. Your B1, your physical science. You have your B2, which is your life science. And then you would need a lab that went with one of those. And then you have your math. So again, many of you have likely done these, but if not, we will, it'll show you a list of classes and you can select from those to determine which one you want to take. And some students that are not STEM majors or nursing majors, they'll find that they need one more class from their B5 in order to meet the 12-unit requirement. So area C is arts and humanities. Again, you need 12 units or 4 classes. Sometimes transfer students will come in with only 9, just because that's kind of typically how it works out in the classes that you take. Again, perfectly fine. You can take an upper division area C class, and so it will finish up your area C and also be one of those upper division GEs. One needed to come from arts, one from humanities, and then the other 2 can be from any combination of that. So your area D is the social science area. There is overlap from up top with your history, your US history, and your government that we talked about. So both of those count down here, and then you need 2 more. So again, 12 units or 4 classes. And then we wrap up with area E, which 1 class is required. The student in our example had transferred that in. And so here we come to your general education, your upper division GE. So as I mentioned, you need 3 classes or 9 units. There's lots of ways that you can overlap this. Some of you might be able to do it solely with your major. Some of you, if you still like I said, have an area C, then pick an area C that's listed in the 100s. Writing intensive is also, not all writing intensives are GE, so just be cautious of that, but a lot of them are. So these are requirements that you had not done at community college and that they will be done here once you arrive at Sac State. And then below here, you'll see your major requirements. So at Sac, and this is a good segue to mention that at Sac State, you have 2 different advising components. You have general education graduation advising, which is done with us in the Academic Advising Center. And then you have major advising. So you will get to meet your major advisor at orientation, and they will share with you how to get advising from them, their requirements that they expect of you, and those types of things. So those 2 kind of places will help you to understand your requirements and to be able to graduate. Okay, so that is the end of your academic requirements. And really what we're going to kind of wrap up with your student center. Okay, I'm going to pull our agenda back up here real quick. So bear with me. My big face, sorry about that.
The team from my chat was coming up.
Hang on, guys. Hang on. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my agenda here so make sure we don't miss anything. Okay, here we are. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so we covered, so far we've covered the writing placement exam, your GE, your academic requirements page, and your SMART planner. I did also mention already your major advising versus GE. We did already look at your transfer credit report. So what we'll do right now is I'll show you the catalog, and then we'll wrap up with the TNT Facebook page and then talking about orientation, okay? Okay. Thanks for your patience as I slowly figure this out. Okay. So we come back to the main Sac State site right here. Every university has a catalog. And so that's something you may or may not know. So no matter where you go, they'll have a catalog that is the guide to the university, to the policy, to the majors that we offer and their requirements. And so you can either search for it. I always come here to quick links and under academic resources, which there's a lot of helpful things here actually, like the academic calendars, colleges and majors, all kinds of helpful resources. But we'll come here to the catalog. And you will see academic programs right here. If you're curious about a certain policy or something that lives here, here it talks about general education requirements. So what I want to show you is academic programs, and you can sort them. Up top here. Oops, I keep flipping it. There we go. So then you can scroll down. Now keep in mind this has everything from minors to certificates to master's programs, so it's a long list. So actually let's do something up early in the alphabet. Let's look at anthropology. So say you are an anthropology major. You can click on this link and it takes you to their component of the catalog. It shows you the lower division requirements that you need in that major. And many times those lower division requirements are what's expected of you to complete before you can start the upper division requirements in the major. Again, your major advisor will go over those with you regarding your particular major. But it's a good way for you to see everything that is required of you in this particular program. You can actually click on the link for the class and it gives you a description of it. And then if you go up here to overview, it actually shows you an overview of that major program. And then It even lists career possibilities. And then down below here, it tells you where their office is located, who the department chair is, and will link you to their website. So I think the catalog is a really good resource because it just kind of has all that information in one place. All right, so that's your introduction to the catalog. We will, let me show you the TNT page. So this is what it looks like. Tiffany can send the link. It was the very first thing in the chat box, but she can send that again for those of you that I would encourage all of you to join the group because it's become a really good support network and resource for students here at Sac State, as advising isn't required for transfers. We would love to have a center for you all, but until that happens, this has been a virtual center for your community of transfer students. So I would highly encourage you to join that group. And then there is a student organization called Transfer Student Association that you could choose to join if you'd like as well once you arrive here. All right, so we're going to wrap up with orientation. Ensure that you sign up for orientation. That is where you're going to register for classes, and you will get exposed to the university and oriented to it with very talented orientation leaders. And you have until the end of the month in order to register for that. So please go ahead and do that. You want to reserve a space as early on as you can, and then that will help you. The sooner you can come, the better. And then again, I'll just wrap up by saying that you want to ensure that you get all of your transcripts in. If you haven't done so, bring your fall transcripts with you because they likely won't be showing up in the system, and ensure once fall semester is over that you have that sent in as well. So that about sums it up. Again, we can, in the chat box, let you know how so you can come into Lassen Hall if you're local and do a drop-in. We don't do appointments, but you can drop in. We're in Lassen 1013. However, right now it's pretty busy. So, I would advise perhaps even waiting until December, like mid-December. We are open until December 22nd. Just because it's busy right now as we get ready for registration. We open again on January 2nd. You could always email one of us as well. Tiffany can put our emails in the chat box if you have a question that you'd like to address via email. But again, this coupled with orientation should get you set up for success. And then if you have additional questions, you can pursue the ways that I mentioned previously. So that's all we have for you. We'll be on the chat box for a few more minutes, so if you have any questions. But otherwise, thanks for joining us, and we're looking forward to you being here at Sac State, and welcome.